Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to another edition, the final one that talks about all the years, 2018 and 2019, for Games of the Decade. I'm your host, Sean Garmer, and well, I'm not here by myself. Mr. Marc Morrison is here.
Howdy.
So is Jens Dietrich.
Hello, hello.
Randy Isbelle.
Hello.
And Daniel Anderson.
Hello.
Well, I do want to remind people that we do have a top 25 podcast where we deliberated everything and actually made our top 25 for 2019. So there probably won't be a lot of discussion on 2019 just because that's very recent. 2018 we'll go through most of it as we have for the other years. So if you're joining in on 2018, 2019 without listening to any of the others, we did this in a process of everybody that's here had a top 10, including another person that's not present. That was all put together into a top 15 for each year, with your number 1 being 10 points, your number 10 being 1 point. And, so we got our top 15 for 2018 and 2019. We'll do all the 2018 first, and then we'll go into 2019 pretty quick, probably. So here is your top 15 for 2018. Before we move anything around, God of War number 1, Marvel Spider-Man number 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 3, Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually tied for 3rd, Celeste in 5th, Tetris Effect 6th, Grease in 7th, Dragon Quest 11th is also tied for 7th, along with Detroit Become Human. Yakuza 6 is 10th. Fortnite is also tied with it for 10th. Return of the Obra Dinn, Fist of the North Star, Mega Man 11, Persona 3 and 5 Dancing, and Dragon Ball FighterZ are all tied for 13th. And just missing out are Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Donut County tied for 17th, and Ni no Kuni 2. So the first thing I would say is, even though it's begrudgingly, we got to put Fortnite in there somewhere.
Why? None of us like it.
Well, I'll say this.
Come on, like really?
Yeah. We should put games in who we like and play.
No, but Fortnite is. I mean, come on. We've been using this metric for everything else.
An influential list, and sure, but not our site's Game of the Year list.
Well, I'll say this in defense of Fortnite. When it released in 2018, it was very innovative, and it was not the phenomenon that it became later on in the year.
Well, it became quickly a phenomenon in 2018. I mean...
well, I just mean the backlash against it. I mean, when it started, it was PUBG with more cartoony feel where you can build stuff. You didn't get into everything else that came with it and all the questionable things that happened afterwards. But just when it first released, it was viewed as a really good game. And then it started going downhill with everything else that came out after it.
Yeah, the internet went, oh, it's too popular, we have to bring it down. That's what happened with Fortnite.
No, I always said it was crap even from launch.
It's just not your kind of game, and that's okay.
But it's not any of our games.
I played it.
How long?
Not as long as PUBG, but I probably got 50 hours in.
You played it that long? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you don't like games with stories. That's why you play those types of games.
What are you talking about? You just said in the last podcast, all I do is play walking simulators. That's all story.
Yeah, it's true.
Not 100-hour long stories.
Because no one can tell a good 100-hour story. There's a lot of filler in those, and that's what you guys say on all of them. Is, well, there's a lot of filler in this and that.
Except for The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 tells a wonderful 150-hour story.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
And you know what, Jens? I'll wait for the 7 seasons of The Witcher on Netflix, and then I'll watch it.
Okay.
I don't know that that's going to be the same thing.
I know. It was a joke. But no, listen, Fortnite was a very well put together game that became a ridiculous phenomenon. I do think it is a better game than PUBG. Yes, it's a little bit more cartoony, and that's kind of what brought in all the 10-year-olds and stuff, and that became the new Call of Duty, where it's tough to play. Unless I was playing with my friends, I didn't play that game because I didn't want to get into a group with a bunch of 10-year-olds yelling at me because I suck at the game. Because I cannot, still, after all those hours of gameplay, I cannot build and shoot at the same time. It's like, you build and then I'll climb on your stuff, but I can't do both. I couldn't wrap my head around it. But I thought that they added a lot of stuff to that kind of that genre, and they continue to kind of reinvent themselves with all the different seasons and changing things up
and the battle pass and
so it's. Like, I'm not going to fight for it way high on the list, but I enjoyed the game, and I think it should be top 10.
And I think we're starting to see more games do the Battle Pass, too. Like, so...
Well, didn't Dota start that off first, though?
Yeah, but I mean, like, they have used it to a greater effect, and we're starting to see other games start to push this. Where, instead of doing DLC, we're going to do this because it might make us more money, or just let's push this because it makes sense for what this game is. And I think it has yes, you could point to a lot of bad things, right, that perhaps aren't good for the future of our kids or anything, but like you could also point to, hey, this is the game that like people talk that is now the game that you get together and play. I mean, this, when we were playing, LAN parties or system links for Halo or some other game, this is what they're doing now. I mean, that's huge. We didn't really have people doing that with games much, especially the kids. I mean, you had them playing Minecraft and that kind of thing, but Fortnite kind of made this, what PUBG did and took it to a bigger level, and that's important too. So, with that being said, we do need to discuss some of the other games on here.
Yakuza 6.
Yeah.
We go from Yakuza 0, the most underrated Yakuza, the most overrated one, to Yakuza 6, the most underrated one. Like, it's first time on the new engine. It's streamlined from, while 0 and the other prequel, the remakes, got very, very bloated. This is a more streamlined Yakuza, both in terms of the overall content and in terms of the combat system, which I much prefer. And it's a fantastic story that is incredibly emotional. I cried like a baby at the end of this game. I mean, it is ridiculous. It's a worthy conclusion to the Kiryu saga. It's a fantastic... If this were the last Yakuza game, I'd be totally fine. With this being the swan song for the series.
I think it is. Because it's not anything like Yakuza.
Well, they're switching things up, but they also Judgment is kind of a spin-off game and all that stuff. So the formula and the Kamurocho lives on, right? So, but as a conclusion to the mainline series, I think it's fantastic. And while it shouldn't be super high on the list, I just wanted to make a case for let's not cut this one. Like I'd rather cut, even though I love Greece and I liked Detroit, I'd rather cut either one of those over Yakuza 6.
Cool.
I think Gris can go, but Detroit should probably stay. That's pretty cool.
It is a cool one. It's probably the best of the David Cage ones.
Yep. That's also a pretty low bar, but yes.
No.
Any game with Clancy Brown is always going to be cool.
Well, sure. I just feel it has the most follow through. But I do like David Cage in general. But it's also very flawed. I don't know if it's a top 10 game. Like, I liked it, but I don't know if it's, and I don't feel that strongly about it. I feel a little bit stronger about Grizz just because I realized, like, I know that Sean, you didn't like that because you felt it was, another one of those kind of emotional.
No, I did like it.
He did like it, yeah.
I was the one that actually pushed for it to be on the top 25, even though it had come out like a week before we did the list. So originally, yeah, because it's such a beautiful game, and it's like the way it tells a story is very well done, and it's such a like unique story in the way that you play the game. You get to like unravel that story, and it's
yeah, it's just a very relaxing, pretty experience, and kind of light but enjoyable puzzles. Good, the traversal feels good. Like the music a lot. Like as far as like here's another platformer about depression. Like it's in that subgenre, it's pretty great. But all I'm saying, I'm just looking at this list and I don't know what else.
I would say that my problem is I really love Return of the Obra Dinn a lot more.
Yeah.
And that game is such a there's so many. It's a detective game. It's a puzzle game. It's got a unique special art style, and the way that it wants you to discover it. Yes, you have to kind of write down what's happening, and you kind of have to piece it. But that's the fun of it, is basically getting to piece together the puzzle yourself, writing it down bit by bit. Yes, you can easily go and find a walkthrough on YouTube and do it in, an hour or two or whatever if you want to spoil it for yourself. But it's almost kind of going back to I know they get made in the indie scene a lot or whatever, but it's almost going back to the height of the point and click adventure game and what you had to do sometimes to figure out a puzzle, and you're doing it here in this game. And again, it's Lucas Pope knowing how to take a game that you would never think that you're gonna like and just turning it on its head.
I think my argument even back then was Obra Dinn is basically copying. I mean, you can see the art style is new, but it's copying an older game called Cryostasis almost directly.
It's not quite in terms of the mechanics are totally different. You're just talking about the general conceit of you exploring dead people's memories.
Yeah, well, then having to figure out how they died or how to prevent it, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right, but you're not preventing anyone's death. You're just being the insurance adjuster and figuring out what happened.
You're just being an anthropologist.
Yeah. In Cryostasis, it's you have to prevent their deaths to move forward in the plot, or to move forward in the ship. So it's kind of important.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to make my case for moving it into the list itself.
And from what I've played of Fist of the North Star, it is awesome, but I think I still care about Yakuza 6 more, so I'm okay with it not making the top 10. But it is really cool.
That was the one that I was kind of like, what the f-? It's somebody actually played Fist of the North Star and wanted to put it in. That was cool.
That was me.
Yeah.
Super fighting for Dragon Quest 11.
Me.
Yeah, it's
because Dragon Quest 11.
But I hear it's one of the best Dragon Quest games.
I mean, huge. It is one of the best Dragon Quest games, and it's like.
Isn't the Switch version that came out this year better though?
No, it's just
they patched in the orchestral music and they added a bunch of they added all the DLC stuff and whatnot. And apparently it runs really well on Switch too.
Yes, it runs absolutely well. You couldn't really tell the difference between the Switch and PS4 version, but
it's all super impressive.
Right, but I mean, it was still a great game for the PS4. The characters are all charming. It tells its story well. Yes, it's an old school RPG, but it's perhaps one of the best, and this is a long-running series of Dragon Quest, of just putting it on, and you could make a case it saved Dragon Quest in the West, because before this game came out, they pretty much came out and said, if this doesn't sell well,
That's because they kept putting Dragon Quest games on mobile. No one gave a shit.
Right.
No, not on mobile, on 3DS and all that.
That's what I meant, like mobile systems. Like
knowing the scope of
well, yeah, but who's going to put stuff on the Wii U when it's not selling?
they're gonna put it on another console.
I just don't think we can cut that at all.
Right.
Knowing what that game is and everything I've read and heard about it and looking at it, like it's visually, the art style's beautiful, like everything about it, it's a...
Well, it's Toyama, so,
Yeah, so... I just don't think it's definitely... I mean, it's better than... Honestly, like, I don't really have strong feelings about the top 5. I liked Red Dead Redemption 2, but it hasn't... It's not a game I would ever revisit.
I'm not a big fan of Red Dead. I got absolutely bored playing it.
I mean, I enjoyed it. While I was playing it, I played all the way through it. I had a good time with it, but it's not a game that I feel super passionate about. Similar with Marvel Spider-Man, like that to me is like a solid 8 out of 10, good game. Nope. Nice open world.
I love Spider-Man though.
Yeah.
Didn't play God of War, so like I could see like all of these like Dragon Quest could move way up.
No.
But God of War is absolutely like a standout game.
Yeah,
I didn't play it because after God of War 3, I said fuck the series forever.
Oh, but you picked the wrong thing.
The creators also said, God of War, let's fix it. And God of War is way different.
Finally, let's fix it. Make it a game worth playing.
Right, that's one I'll tell you. I mean, if you didn't like God of War 3, it has nothing with God of War. God of War is something completely different.
It has the character. It has Kratos.
But Kratos is so much better.
A different guy's voicing him. He actually has a personality. He's not just Rageaholic Man anymore. So, yeah.
It's like Dad Simulator, too. So,
Well, I've got my Dad Simulator with Yakuza 6. Because Yakuza 6 is the Dad Simulator.
Yeah, except the kid you're carrying is always crying. You have to, like, rock it to sleep.
No, that's one... No, it's not like... It's one sequence. There's one sequence where you have to shake the baby.
Well...
To put it to sleep. Then that's it.
The kid in God of War is absolutely useful, and you get to see him grow throughout the game, as you do Kratos as well. And then it's amazing that they did all this in a one-shot camera, where it's all the way they did it.
I mean, they fake it here and there, but it's fine.
I know, but they did it like really well, and it's just when you go and find things in that game there's like places you can go and you could find bosses that you don't find if you don't go down there. There's just so much of that game that's great.
I am pretty ambivalent about Celeste, but the top 4 are pretty much locked in my view.
I don't know. I could argue that Celeste. I love Celeste a heck of a lot more than Red Dead.
Same.
Yeah.
Celeste has an absolutely fantastic soundtrack. It's a super emotional game. Yes, it's about mental illness or whatever, but like how she conquers that.
Oh, what game isn't?
I know, but I'm just saying it's like.
I mean, Red Dead is a tremendous achievement just from a world design. Just again, the level of detail. Every little house that you go into, every little corner of that world, there's something interesting, and you can tell that like you can just tell the man hours and the effort put into it. But I agree overall that like it is a slog at times,
I would agree also that Tetris Effect should go above Red Dead 2 because it's...
I liked it. It wasn't as amazing as everybody made it out to be. I mean, it is a good Tetris game.
Well, I mean, if you play that game in VR, you wouldn't say the same thing. I mean, that game is an experience in VR.
I actually played it in VR and I did not like it in VR.
Really?
I actually wasn't a huge fan either in VR, but I mean, I love Tetris Effect anyway, so it didn't really matter to me.
But I also, you know what? I did play it on Marc's setup, and it was terrible because Marc's setup is all fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like I could barely the smudges on your lenses and the fact that it wasn't properly calibrated.
That was fine.
Yeah, Marc, way to ruin his experience with that.
Yeah, so I was just like, after like 10 minutes of Tetris Effect VR, I was like, enough. I can't
you don't like
anymore.
VR at all, so.
It's true. I also just don't like the headset's uncomfortable. Everything about PlayStation VR is bad to me.
Well, any
so
VR.
It did not enhance Tetris Effect.
Didn't your roommate or didn't one of your friends have a VR system, a Rift? He didn't.
Oh no, I liked the Vive, but he had a whole his room. He had a special room that was set up as his VR room, so you could do things like the Aperture Science demo and all that stuff, and it actually worked really well. So it was impressive. But I did end up getting tangled up in the cable, so the cables are still a deal breaker. Now that it's wireless, I'm assuming it's going to be a lot better. But PSVR, I think, is just bad. Even though I know, Randy, you had a great time with Resident Evil on that, and you love that stuff. But
yeah, so Daniel, I'm not alone.
Right. Sorry, I keep forgetting that Daniel's here. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I actually like how the VR helmet felt for the PSVR, but I mean that just means that it fit pretty
snug.
I have a big head.
Oh well, that yeah.
I agree.
Daniel, do you have a thought either way on the top 6-ish?
I mean, I'm fine with what everybody's doing. My big feeling were 1, 2, and 3 being pretty set, and I think we had a long conversation between, at the time, I was pulling for Spider-Man to be 2, and somebody else is pulling for Red Dead, but I like to see that it's been corrected now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. I had a lot more fun in Spider-Man. That's what I think about it.
Who here loves Smash Brothers? Who's the Smash Brothers fan in the group?
I like it. I actually do. That's the one I actually got into.
I mean, the World of Light thing is extremely long, but it's fun. Yeah, it's way too long. It's fun in short spurts. And then also, I mean, just fighting at Smash Brothers, I mean, it's like having all these characters back, and then, of course, the DLC that they've added, and then the soundtrack is, I mean, what can you say? It's got everything.
The soundtrack's huge.
Yeah, it's got
ridiculous.
Everything. It's got everything.
Smash Brothers Ultimate is that game that my son and I will go to. We're like, we have a half hour, and we'll just play, and we both pick random characters and just laugh at the weird combinations we get that we fight each other. I don't know how many times you'd get like Bowser, and I'm over here being Princess Peach or Kirby, or I'm just upset. I'm like, this is stupid. Stop! I'm the villager from Animal Crossing, and he's over here being Sonic, and he's really good with that character. So I was like, I would lose.
Man,
there's so much in that game.
Ever since the Wii one, I have bought every Smash Brothers in the vain hope that maybe this time I will like it. And this one lured me in with, Bayonetta and Persona protagonist and all that stuff. And man, I cannot get into it. I just hate how it plays. I hate it. But I recognize that I'm an outlier, so I don't know. I don't like seeing it this high up, but I'm just going to shut up about it, I guess.
I mean, I'm in the boat that I think Celeste should be above Smash Brothers, but I figure I'm an outlier for that. So that game.
Well, I would say
because a lot of people who love that game who put it number 1 on there.
I would also say Celeste above Smash Brothers just because Smash Brothers. I mean, when you think about it, it's a great fighting game or whatever, but you're thinking more about, oh my god, they added all the characters again. Oh my god, look at who they added afterwards. Like, that's more of what you think about with Smash Bros. Is who they're adding. It's not necessarily the game itself, and much less the story mode was supposed to...
That's like the WWE approach to how they make their games.
I know, but I mean...
Yeah, but they finished their games.
Yeah.
I'm all for Celeste above Smash Brothers.
Me too.
Yeah. But I would love to hear the argument for why Tetris Effect over Red Dead. I just want to, what's the... to me, Tetris Effect is it's a cool version of Tetris with, a pretty skin on it. It's got that luminous layer on top, but it doesn't really do that much in terms of making the gameplay fresher.
I love how they make it work with the music.
Well, I was going to say it has a better soundtrack than Red Dead, and it has better gameplay.
Oh man, a lot of people would tell you.
The soundtrack's really good.
No.
I'm not gonna. The Red Dead 2 soundtrack's good.
There are a lot of good. There are several great songs. The score is really cool. It's a good, expansion of what the first Red Dead did in terms of music.
I'm still wanting to fight for Overdin over Greece if we're gonna add in another indie game.
We gotta make room for Fortnite still.
No, we don't.
Well, if we're gonna put it in, then I think Greece is the one you cut.
All right, let's cut Greece and Detroit and put in Fortnite and Oberdin.
Well, is everybody else okay with that? Or?
I mean, I would say cut Dragon Quest 11, but that's me.
No.
No way.
All right.
Let's do this to give it a shout out. Fortnite can be a influential game. I have no problem with it, and we can put Return to Overdin in. It's a game I haven't played, but it looks really interesting, and you very much like it. So put that over Greece and leave Fortnite for that influential podcast, and it works.
All right. Well, it's the only one of the big ones that we didn't somehow get it in there, but yeah, sure.
Only one guy played it, and only one guy's saying that.
I played it too. I didn't play it very long. I played it just to see what the hell it was about and whatever, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
no.
It didn't catch your interest, so.
No, because, at least Apex made it to where I didn't have to. I knew if I shot something, somebody wasn't going to build a fucking wall afterwards, and he didn't die. So.
One last shout out, Donut Country. Donut Country is really fun.
Donut County is so good. It's funny as hell.
It's hilarious, and I just love the. I know. The puzzles are not hard, but it's just making It's almost like reverse.
Katamari.
Yeah, reverse Katamari, and it just works so great at that.
How low has Tomb Raider fallen?
No,
that we don't even consider it.
No,
it has only fallen to just barely making the list.
My problem with Tomb Raider actually, especially in Shadow, is the story. They ruin Laura's character.
Right. There's some dumb stuff in the story from everything I've seen, but it seems like the gampaly is the same gameplay we know.
Yeah, the gameplay is it's okay. They do one or two dumb stuff, but it's really how they wreck her character. And her single-minded obsession is she's like, oh, I just removed this artifact and I destroyed this town. Let's go to the next area. It's huh?
What I'm super happy about is that Monster Hunter World has totally dropped off the old list.
What's so surprising to me is how much Monster Hunter World was such a huge thing back then. Iceborne comes out, no one freaking talks about it, and then also no one's really batting for it after the fact when we're doing this again. So yeah, it's interesting.
Literally the only thing I like in that game are the cooking animations.
Alright, so we good with this 10? I still wish I could switch Detroit and Oberdin, but we'll leave it like that.
If you want to do that, that's fine. I just want Detroit on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, Detroit at number 10. Okay, let's face it. It's the weakest of these, probably.
Alright, fair enough. Okay, there we go. So we've got God of War stays at number 1. Marvel Spider-Man at number 2, Celeste at 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 4, Red Dead Redemption 2 at 5, Tetris Effect 6, Dragon Quest 11 7, Return of the Oberdin 8, Yakuza 6 Song of Life at 9, and Detroit Become Human is number 10. So there is your list, top 10 for 2018. And, well, when you look back at the old list, the two games that we talked about, Monster Hunter World was at number 9 on the original list, and doesn't even make the top 15. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey, obviously, Marc hates that game. So
it was better than Ori. Origins, but that's a very low bar. Like so.
Yeah, and like Pokemon Let's Go, no one even, I think, really thought much about it either. Thinking 2 years.
I played it.
Yeah,
it was fine.
I didn't finish it, but I played a few hours of it at least.
Yeah, and Dead Cells too. Dead Cells as well didn't get the love that it got back then too. So I'm surprised you didn't make a big fuss about Dragon Ball Fighters.
I mean, I like it, but I'm the only fighting game guy here, so I knew it wouldn't have no chance.
I like Dragon Ball Fighters. It was a pretty good fighter, and I felt like I could learn to play it and not be totally destroyed by having to learn a million combos.
Hey, at least it sounded like it was better than Jump Force, so I'll give it that.
Oh, come on. Anything could beat Jump Force. That was awful. Whatever. So, shout out to Astrobot Rescue Mission, though, because that's the game I bought VR for, and it's still great. So, cool little platformer for VR. So, alright, so let's move on to 2019.
Hang on, wait a second. I just noticed something bad.
What?
Which is, we have Yakuza 6 Song of Life on our 2018 list. I'm also seeing it as missing out.
It might have been Kiwami or Kiwami.
Okay, because
No, that's your...
If we've got it in the right year.
Yeah, no, we have it in 2018.
Okay, so I'm just going to delete it off the just missing out.
Oh, that I mean, we're behind the scenes here, but that was the list that they made when they did the podcast in 2018.
Oh, so
that was from the.
Sorry,
written.
I'm reading this Google Doc wrong. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on.
So, all right, here we go for 2019, because I imagine we're probably just going to end up making the same list that we made on the top 25, but.
Yeah, there's one critical, and we need to move up a few spots.
Well, now we've got Daniel here, we can see if there's any more support for moving Code Vein into the top 10.
Probably not. So Control.
There isn't. Sorry.
So due to Angel, like his one big game that he played in 2019 was Control. So Control wound up being the number one game because that was his game of the year. Resident Evil 2 Remake is number 2. Fire Emblem 3 Houses is at number 3 right now. Tetris 99 at 4. Death Stranding at 5. Outer Worlds is technically tied for 5th. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order in 7th, Sekiro 8th, Luigi's Mansion 3 at 9, and Pokemon Sword and Shield is at 10. Kingdom Hearts 3 is technically tied for 10th, Astral Chain at 12th, Slay the Spire at 13th, Code Vein is tied for 13th, as well as Bloodstained is also tied for 13th. And just missing out, which we're going to correct here, Outer Wilds, Remnant from the Ashes, Link's Awakening Remake, all tied for 16th. Apex Legends Borderlands 3 Untitled Goose Game and Mortal Kombat 11 tied for 19th. And of course so a lot of that kind of looks similar when you look at the website.
Untitled Goose Game was like number 5 and now it's dropped off.
Yeah, because only you and I kind of vouch for it when you look at everybody else. So, all right. So we can still put Goose Game back in if we want, but this it's hard
for sure.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I would definitely say we're Pokemon.
Considering how like there's a contingent of people.
Well, but we've also got to put Outer Wilds back in, and that's another thing too. You know.
Who here has played that?
Me, I'm the only one, I guess.
Did he finish it, or did he?
Yes, I did several time loops or whatever.
Okay.
I mean, it's an awesome game for what it is. It's like I just love the exploring in space and the fact that like you've got a short amount of time, and depending on how many times you talk to the certain characters, you can either solve it or not, or absolutely miss something. It's that, and I just love the characters are kind of goofy and there's some really good writing in that game too. I appreciated that. So All right, before we have probably the same debate that we had before.
Well, let's just put our number 1 and 2 back where they belong. Death Stranding number 1, Fire Emblem Three Houses number 2, right?
No, we should
That's
just
like our
put Fire
first
Emblem
course of.
Three Houses at number 1, and that'll be good enough.
No, we're not relitigating that part.
Well,
Are we
okay, I
redoing
hate
this?
to say this, I wasn't here for the original one, but I would have put Fire Emblem over Death Stranding.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Oh wait, no, not a tie. Well, I was the tiebreaker the last time, so now I guess we've got another.
Now I can re-argue that Fire Emblem is always a better game than Death Stranding because it's an actual game.
This Stranding is a game too.
Your this is not a game argument. No.
I mean, it should just called Death Stranding. That stupid French walking simulator 2.
No, there are plenty of mechanics in Death. There's plenty of actual game mechanics in Death Stranding, and stuff like Dear Esther is a game. I mean, again, let's not do this.
Come on, Death Stranding has where you actually punch bosses. I mean, that's not
Hey,
walking.
you do get to pee on stuff in Death Stranding, so that's kind of cool. That's about it.
Oh God, Randy, where are you to?
All right, let's vote. Fire Emblem versus Death Stranding again. I vote Death Stranding with Randy.
Of course.
Ooh, I can't. I have to abstain. I have to abstain because I haven't played either one.
Let me do. Okay, Sean abstains. Okay, so we've got 2 votes for Death Stranding, and then Mark.
2 for Fire Emblem.
Daniel votes Fire Emblem. Okay, we've got a tie.
What was the Google? What did we have in that spreadsheet earlier that I made?
So, okay, so
What did Angel say? He was a tiebreaker finally.
I don't think he had either one.
All right, Sean, you got to break the tie now.
That's really unfair because Fire Emblem adds so much to the taking out the weapon triangle alone absolutely changes that game, and then putting in the way it tells the story aspects with the being in school and whatever. I mean, I think I also wish that I think at times it might be a better story perhaps if your character had more say, because sometimes it feels like they're saying things to you and you're just not saying nothing. So, but I don't know, man. Like Death Stranding is such a unique, like the way that Kojima decided to tell his story, and it's so weird, and like if you go through its entire deal, like you uncover things that it's like, what the fuck is happening here? But
you get to see digital Conan O'Brien, so.
Or is that a plus? I guess?
That's kind of negative.
Oh man.
No, it's a plus, but it's bounced out by Digital Jeff Keighley.
I want to say Fire Emblem is the better game from a technical standpoint. Yeah, but
and you'd be right. But
Fire
in terms
Emblem
of innovation.
Yeah, God. It's like one of those, like, it's the whole fun versus technical achievement debate again. And I think for a lot of people that weren't strategy game players, Fire Emblem would probably be boring,
See, I'm not a big strategy game player, though, and I still had a lot of fun with it. Like, I kind of, like, the only strategy game I like is, like, XCOM and, like, Warhammer, Dawn of War 2.
Daniel, why did you like it? Why did you like Fire Emblem?
I just thought it was a better game overall than Death Stranding. I was not a fan of Death Stranding. I don't know how to put it except for it just did not appeal to me. So I understand.
It didn't appeal to you in that, like, you didn't like the way the whole package stuff or the story didn't.
It was mainly just the whole package and the gameplay. Fire Emblem I was involved in. I enjoyed it. I could not get into Death Stranding.
Did you play Fire Emblem like a few different times or just one time?
I have only played it one time right now.
Because there's three paths, but one path like really diverges. So it's like a secret fourth path, and it's really interesting.
I think I got to give it to Fire Emblem as far as. I feel like if I played Death Stranding, I might really enjoy it. And if it goes on a sale on PC or something, maybe. But
I'll reiterate, I was stunned by how much I enjoyed playing Death Stranding because, on paper, it should be like the anti-Jens game. But somehow it clicked.
I have chat messages from you, like when you finish that game, you're like, finally I'm fucking done. Like,
well, there's a lot of third act stuff that we've talked about this. Like, I don't like a lot of the boss fight stuff in this.
Yeah, Fire Emblem does not fall apart in the end.
But here's the thing, though. The story... I've heard people say the story in Death Stranding falls apart, but I actually thought the story in Death Stranding towards the end was kind of the best thing. And wrapped up better than a lot of other Kojima games, honestly.
Well, of course, my favorite game is Control. So I absolutely love that game. I know it had its problems. I know if you played it on something that wasn't PC, it didn't run well. Daniel, I know you liked it too.
Yeah, I did. I would, if it was up to me, I would put it above Death Stranding, but I'm not gonna fight that fight.
I mean, I probably would too, but I don't think I'd get that support either.
Now I feel like it's unfair because then it'd be another 3 against 2 where we've all actually played that.
I mean, if you don't have Death Stranding at number 2, that's fine. Like, I don't care if we talk about that, but Fire Emblem is a better game than Death Stranding. There's no argument about that.
Wow. Man,
right.
I thought this list was locked.
I thought it was locked too. I guess it's not. I'm gonna have to separate it.
I claim final victory for myself.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I just claim final victory for myself.
I haven't even gotten started on Outer Worlds and Jedi Fallen Order yet, so.
What were your thoughts on Star Wars?
I enjoyed both games a lot higher than 6 and 7, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's hard to move the top 4. It's hard to move at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Resident Evil 2 Remake was like everybody's, other than Jens who hasn't played it, I think it was like almost everybody's favorite game. It's like the one that got a unanimous, everybody enjoyed it out of the staff.
It was everyone's number 2, which is really weird.
Yeah.
I would have just put them above it just because it wasn't a remake, but I understand everybody enjoyed it, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to fight that fight.
I
really enjoyed them.
I think that RE2 remake, I mean, it did scratch that nostalgia itch, but it actually did innovate a lot of like core Resident Evil systems, and that's why it was high, at least on my list.
I mean, the map by itself, making it easy to communicate where you've been in a room and you haven't. I mean, it makes that game so much more playable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What? I said, what were you gonna say?
Just that we got to put Goose Game on.
Oh, I agree. I mean, Goose Game. It's absolutely a joy to watch. Like, just absolutely the disheartenment of those people when you go and take away their things, and it's the Goose itself is funny, and like I like the soundtrack in Goose Game. Just it's a game that completely surprised me. So like I didn't think I saw the hype and I was like, okay, it's this game with a goose, whatever, and I played it and I'm like, okay, I get it, totally. They should add DLC to Goose Game.
We can play as Beaker.
That's yeah. For sure. Man, you know what? I know I'm the only one that's gonna fight for Outer Wilds, so I don't.
No,
I wish I'd played it.
I haven't played it, but I've heard there are lots of people.
It's such a
say it's amazing.
It's such an amazing game. Like you go out there, you can explore it however you want to. You can go in and you find things. Depending on how much you talk to the people in those areas, you either find things or you don't. And I remember being like, what the hell do I have to do to get through this time loop to find out what I got to do? And like, I'd be talking to this and all of a sudden, it would just start. And I'm like, oh, wow, I figured it out. How awesome is that? And it's just, it's such like, and that's not my kind of game at all. Like, I'm not I've said, like, Breath of the Wild, I had to get a walkthrough guide because I got tired of walking around and not knowing what the fuck I'm supposed to do. And, like, Outer Wilds was so different in that way that, like, it charmed me with its world and getting on the spaceship and doing stuff. And I was like, I want to keep playing this,
I hate to lose it. I mean, it was on number 6 before, above Outer Worlds, so
yeah,
it is weird to drop it off the list.
I mean, Outer Worlds isn't even on this list anymore, though.
No, yes, it is. It's number 6.
It's number 6. Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I've heard a lot of great things about Luigi's Mansion 3, so.
I mean, I would say the game we could probably drop off is Sekiro.
Ooh.
Oh.
Because Jens didn't like it, and he's the big head case for those games.
Well, yeah, it's because they just kind of went in a direction that is less my thing than classic Souls. They went into more of a Tenchu stealth direction, and you don't really have different weapons. You just have the one sword that you level up, and different. Some of the techniques are not really useful. They're very it's weird. Like, a lot of stuff is very situational, but it also takes time to equip, so you don't usually bother most of the time. There are all sorts of design decisions in Sekiro that are kind of baffling to me.
I don't think you're gonna like that Ghost of Tsushima game then that much.
No, I'm sure it'll be that'll be its own thing. I don't think it'll be a From Software style thing at all. But on the other hand, there were a lot of people who had Sekiro on their lists, and had strong up and pretty high up too. I forget who.
Well, Stephanie was the one that reviewed it and loved it.
Yes,
so.
and it is a very highly reviewed game, so it feels weird to drop it off. But I'm not going to fight for it because it's kind of my least favorite From game, I guess, of all the From games I've played. Like, I like Code Vein. I would replace Sekiro with Code Vein if I were making, my personal list. Souls likes.
I'm just saying, Remnant's right there.
No, oh my god, let's not start this again. Well, what say everyone? I know Outer Wilds for something.
I hate to strike out Luigi's Mansion.
I mean, yeah.
I know, I really like Luigi's Mansion.
Over that.
But
well, going once, going twice. Sekiro removed, then. Now it's about.
Let's put Outer. Why don't we put Outer Wilds back at 6 where it belongs, where it was?
I would probably might have Star Wars at 6 and Outer Wilds at lower.
Oh, didn't.
I mean, Daniel mentioned it, but I'm kind of shocked at how good Star Wars actually is.
It's true, and Star Wars was up higher before.
Yeah, it's Tetris, I think, that's the one that... Did we have it that high before? I think we had it a lot lower.
No, we did have Tetris at 5, but we didn't have Control that high, so... Or we did. Wait, no.
No, Tetris was at 10.
Oh, wow. I'm totally misremembering. You're right. I'm fine with as long as Tetris 99 is on the list. I'm happy.
I'm fine with the list as how it looks now.
I feel like Goose Game should be above Tetris, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I'd move it. I'm happy moving it up. Have Tetris 99 be number 9, Luigi's Mansion number 10.
Yeah.
I haven't finished Luigi's Mansion, so I can't judge. But I know, like, I heard the last boss fight in that game is like really nuts.
All right. That it? No more arguing? All right, so there we go.
Wait, Outer Wilds and Outer Worlds are backwards.
Oh yeah, Outer Worlds. Move it above Outer Worlds. So, yeah, I mean, Daniel, what was your thing with Outer Worlds? You had that as your number one game since you didn't get to be on the original podcast. What did you really like about that?
I just really enjoyed the entire game. I enjoyed the tone of it. It basically felt like Fallout New Vegas set in space with Firefly somehow mixed in. It was just, I liked the humor. It was just something that, it's one of those games that just resonated with me, and I've just loved it. Sat down, played it once it came out, and just kept going.
I really wanted to like it, but the story just lost me at a certain point.
Jens?
I played some of it. It was good. It had that Obsidian style. I'm going to play more of it eventually. And I've only played a little bit of Outer Wilds also. So I've probably played about the same. I've probably just played a couple of hours of each one of those. And Outer Wilds just seemed a lot more intriguing to me.
All right. Well, if that's everything, then we have our 10, which differentiates just slightly from the one that's we did on the original podcast. Fire Emblem Three Houses is the number one game. Control 2, Death Stranding at 3, Resident Evil 2 Remake 4, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at 5, Outer Wilds at 6, Outer Worlds at 7, Untitled Goose Game at 8, Tetris 99 at 9, and Luigi's Mansion at 3. Just making the cut at 10. There's your top 10 for 2019. And that's it for the years. We've done them all. You now know our top 10 for each year. You can go back and listen to any of the ones that are there from 2010 to 2019. And, well, we just hope you stick with us. We still have one podcast to go where we kind of decide the best of what we didn't select and try to carry it over. And as we start to begin to make our top 100 games of the decade, that's going to be a doozy to start ranking all those and everything. So, well, that'll be for Saturday morning for you guys. You'll get to hear the influential podcast episode. And then we'll have to figure out how we're going to decide things from there. But just want to thank everybody who listened to any of the shows. I really appreciate that. And, of course, Saturday, Marc and I and anybody else that wants to join should have a regular episode as well. And, yeah, looks like we're getting close to starting off that 2020 with some of the games. A lot of the big games come out, much later, but yeah, starting to feel like we're getting into that new year. Got the logo of the PS5 revealed earlier yesterday. So, I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get price reveals or something out of nowhere. But, well, thank you everybody for listening. You can subscribe to us on any podcast service that's out there. Write a review if you'd like. And visit that wtmnet.com. And we'll see you later, everybody.